Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we bring you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. In our top stories, Ukraine is continuing with its incursion inside Russia's Kursk region. Ukrainian soldiers have entered 30 kilometers inside Russian territory. Kiev says that the assault is aimed at destabilizing Moscow and stretching its forces. Russia, meanwhile, has launched what it calls counter-terror operations against Ukrainian soldiers. The incursion marks the most significant attack by a foreign army on Russian territory since World War II. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called the country's incursion in Kursk, quote-unquote, a fair response to the Russian strikes on Ukraine. Zelensky said that Russia launched nearly 2,000 cross-border strikes at Ukraine's Sumy region from Kursk over the summer. A fire was reported at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russia and Ukraine accused each other of causing the blaze, which gripped the cooling tower of the occupied Ukrainian plant. Russia said that the blaze was triggered by Ukrainian shelling, while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russian forces had set it ablaze. Both sides confirmed that there was no impact on the plant's safety. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has presented his 19-member cabinet to the parliament yesterday. His cabinet included a woman candidate. Pezeshkian nominated Farzaneh Sadegh, and this for Urban Development Ministry. Now, Sadegh could become the second Iranian woman to hold a ministerial post since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. And Lebanon-based Hezbollah fired a barrage of rockets into northern Israel. The Israeli military said that it identified around 30 projectiles crossing from Lebanon. The Israeli forces said most of them fell in an open area. This comes amid rising regional tensions in West Asia over the killings of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran and Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr in Lebanon. And Israel is continuing with its offensive in Gaza. The Israeli army has said that it struck around 30 Hamas military targets in the last 24 hours. One of the Israeli airstrikes was caught on camera. The dramatic video showed the moment Israeli airstrike hit a house in Sheikh Radwan suburb of Gaza City. The strike allegedly killed one Palestinian and wounded several others. Israel expanded its evacuation orders in southern Gaza's Khan Yunis. The fresh orders forced tens of thousands of Palestinians to flee for safety. The Israeli military said it was attacking Hamas targets that were used to stage attacks and fire rockets. Hamas has sought implementation of a truce plan presented by U.S. President Joe Biden instead of holding more talks. The statement from the Iran-backed group followed invitation from international mediators to resume talks for a truce and hostage release deal. The invitation, extended by United States, Qatar and Egypt, has been accepted by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has ordered the deployment of a guided missile submarine in West Asia. The deployment orders followed Austin's talks with his Israeli counterpart. He reiterated the U.S.'s commitment to defend Israel and strengthening U.S. military positions in the region amid escalating tensions. Israel is bracing for potential retaliatory measures by Iran and its allies following the killing of senior Hamas and Hezbollah members. As civil unrest continues in parts of the UK, the Southport stabbing attack victims' parents called for peace at the funeral. Meanwhile, protesters clashed with police at Northern Ireland's Londonderry. In Belfast, anti-racism protesters marched to protest the violence. In the Australian city of Cairns, a helicopter crashed on the rooftop of a hotel. The crash killed the chopper's pilot as it collided with the hotel's roof, causing a fire. Hundreds of guests were evacuated after the incident. And junior doctors in India have called a nationwide strike. The doctors are protesting the rape and murder of a 32-year-old trainee doctor in the Indian state of West Bengal. The trainee doctor's body was found on the 9th of August in a hospital in Kolkata. The autopsy report revealed that she had been sexually assaulted before being strangled and smothered to death. Kolkata police have arrested a civic volunteer linked to the case. The protesters are calling for a speedy investigation in the case. In climate news, Typhoon Maria has made landfall in northeastern Japan. The typhoon, which brought torrential rains with it, caused flooding in the Iwate prefecture. The government also began emergency water discharge at the Taki Dam. Authorities in the Kuji city issued the highest level of evacuation alert. Evacuation orders have been issued for nearly 8,300 residents living downstream of the dam. In the Indian capital of New Delhi, heavy rain triggered massive waterlogging. A 7-year-old child drowned in a pond formed due to the waterlogging. The weather department has issued a severe weather alert for citizens. And residents of Italy witnessed the hottest weekend of the summer so far. The temperature in some parts of the country touched 40 degrees Celsius. Amid the rising mercury levels, cities like Palermo and Sicily are also facing a water crisis, which is drying up reservoirs, hence affecting its agricultural production. Meanwhile, people in the Spanish city of Madrid also witnessed one of the hottest days of the year over the weekend. The temperature was above 35 degrees Celsius. The Spanish State Meteorological Agency has issued heat wave warnings. Meanwhile, in Spain's Aragon region, a wildfire broke out yesterday. Authorities were forced to confine a nearby town due to the heavy smoke. Dozens of firefighters were deployed to fight the blaze. Water bomber aircraft were seen sprinkling water on the affected areas. An official said strong winds had pushed the fire to spread further. In Greece's Athens city, thousands of people evacuated their houses amid a raging wildfire. The fire torched trees, houses and cars in the vicinity. Hundreds of firefighters were seen trying to contain the situation. Smoke covered parts of the city in a dark haze. In the Tizi Ouzou province of Algeria, residents were asked to evacuate their homes amid growing wildfires. Numerous wildfires broke out in the region over the weekend, and officials stated that outbreaks of fire continue in the hard-to-reach areas. A water bomber has been deployed to help contain the forest fire. In the Serbian capital of Belgrade, thousands of people took to the streets demanding a halt to a British-Australian multinational company's lithium projects. Residents argue that the project will pollute the nearby land and water. Protesters waved the Serbian flag and chanted slogans like, "You will not dig." Last month, Serbia reinstated the company's license to develop what would be Europe's biggest lithium mine. And on to business and tech news. The United Nations says global youth unemployment has fallen to its lowest level in 15 years. The report said that in 2023, the world saw a total of 64.9 million unemployed young people. The UN report also noted that unemployment has fallen since the COVID-19 pandemic. However, it highlighted that the recovery has not been even across all parts of the world. Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan has warned against high interest rates. Moynihan says if the U.S. Federal Reserve doesn't cut interest rates soon, it could discourage American consumers. He said that once American consumer sentiment turns negative, it's hard to get them back. The U.S. Central Bank has kept interest rates at decades-high levels to fight inflation. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve has said it would cut interest rates in September if inflation continues to cool down. And Saudi Arabia has announced an overhaul of its investment laws to attract foreign investment. The rejigged law includes investor rights, fair treatment, and the freedom to transfer funds. The Saudi government has also announced plans to streamline the investment registration process, and they plan to replace outdated licensing requirements with a simpler single-window system. And new data shows that foreign investment is slowing in China. According to China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange, foreign investment in China declined by nearly $15 billion in the April to June quarter. Foreign investment into China has slumped in recent years. China's economic growth slowdown and rising geopolitical tensions have led companies to reduce their exposure. A hearing on the liquidation of Chinese real estate firm Kaisa Group has been adjourned until September. A Hong Kong court has given Kaisa Group more time to restructure its debt with creditors. The Shenzhen-based property developer defaulted on $12 billion of debt in 2021. The firm says it may finalize the deal in less than a month. The UK government is reportedly planning to tighten visa rules for certain foreign workers. This includes workers in the sectors of information technology, telecom and engineering. The UK Home Secretary, Vic Cooper, has asked the country's Migration Advisory Committee to review these fields. She has asked the committee to examine why Britain is so heavily reliant on foreign workers in these sectors. And new research has found that the CEOs of top British companies received record salaries last year. The research was published by the UK think tank High Pay Centre. Data shows the average pay of CEOs at the top stock market listed companies in the UK rose by over 2% to $5.35 million in 2023. The top 9 UK firms offered their bosses over $12.75 million. The highest paid British CEO was Pascal Soriot of drug maker AstraZeneca. And Australian mining firms BHP, Rio Tinto and airline Qantas have announced investment plans for a reforestation initiative. The companies will collectively invest over $52 million in an Australian carbon credits fund. The fund aims to use this money for reforestation that can help lower carbon emissions. Australia aims to cut its carbon emissions by 43% by the year 2030. And Vietnam is planning to provide subsidized electricity to electric vehicle charging stations. The move aims to promote the adoption of EVs. The government says it will submit the subsidy scheme for an approval by mid-September. The country currently has over 150,000 EV charging ports. Most of them are owned by domestic EV maker VinFast. And Turkey has lifted the ban on the social media platform Instagram. The platform was banned earlier this month, allegedly for blocking messages regarding the death of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Later, a Turkish minister said that Instagram was blocked for refusing to delete posts about gambling, drugs, and child abuse. Now the government says that Meta-owned platforms have agreed to respond to their demands. And moving on to sports news, the 2024 Paris Olympics officially came to a close. The closing ceremony took place at Stade de France yesterday, capping off 17 days of epic showdowns and athletic prowess. Next in focus will be the Paralympic Games, which will begin on the 28th of August in Paris. And Paris Mayor handed the Olympic flag to Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, during the closing ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics. The Los Angeles 2028 organizers plan to make the event the No-Car Games. It would require spectators to use public transportation and encouraging remote work to reduce traffic congestion. Los Angeles will host the Olympics for the third time in 2028, adding to its previous roles as host in 1932 and 1984. The United States topped the Paris Olympics medal table with 40 golds and 44 silvers. China also won 40 golds but had only 27 silvers. The US women's basketball team secured the final gold by defeating France. The US led in total medals with 126, surpassing China's 91. And the US narrowly defeated France 67-66 in a thrilling women's basketball final. The match was closely contested until the final buzzer at the packed Bercy Arena. This win gave the US its 10th gold in women's basketball and helped them to top the medals table. Aja Wilson led the US with 21 points. Breaking or breakdancing made its Olympic debut in Paris. Japan's Ami Yuasa won the women's first gold in the sport, and she defeated Lithuania's Dominika Nikabanovic in the final. China's Louise 671 Qingyi won the bronze medal. And in cricket, Bangladesh is making last-minute efforts through the UN to retain the hosting rights for the Women's T20 World Cup. The sports advisor for Bangladesh's interim government said they will discuss travel restrictions with the UN. Several countries, including Australia, the UK, India and New Zealand, have imposed travel restrictions to Bangladesh due to the political unrest. These restrictions are threatening Bangladesh's ability to host the tournament. And New Zealand named their squad for the upcoming one-off test against Afghanistan and a two-match test series against Sri Lanka. The squad includes 5 spin options. Tim Southee will continue as captain, leading a side with key players like Devon Conway, Glenn Phillips, Roshan Ravindra and Kane Williamson. The one-off test against Afghanistan is scheduled for the 9th of September in Greater Noida. And in football news, Manchester City won the Community Shield by beating Manchester United 7-6 on penalties. Alejandro Garnacho put United ahead in the 82nd minute. City's Bernardo Silva equalized in the 89th minute, forcing the match into penalties. City clinched the win in the penalty shootout, securing the season's first trophy at Wembley. And Chelsea have signed Portuguese winger Pedro Neto from Wolverhampton Wanderers on a 7-year deal. The transfer is reportedly worth $69 million with add-ons. Now, Neto has made 135 appearances for Wolves, scoring 14 goals. Chelsea has brought in 9 new players this transfer window, and they will face Manchester City in their Premier League opener on the 18th of August. In tennis news, Spain's Carlos Alcaraz aims to finish the season as the world's top-ranked player. The 21-year-old, who won the French Open and Wimbledon and earned a silver medal in Paris, is currently ranked 3rd. Alcaraz returns to play at the Cincinnati Open this week, seeking to close the gap on Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner. In entertainment news, Marvel's Deadpool and Wolverine has performed marvelously at the box office. The superhero comedy film has entered the $1 billion club with its business globally. The film collected over $50 million alone in North American theaters. The film features Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in the lead roles. The Disney Legends Awards ceremony in California honored 14 of the brightest stars in Hollywood. Among the people honored were Avatar director James Cameron, Black Panther actor Angela Bassett, and Freaky Friday's Jamie Lee Curtis, and Star Wars legend Harrison Ford. Meanwhile, Miley Cyrus was honored as the youngest ever Disney legend. She became emotional while receiving the honor and said she feels proud to have played the role of Hannah Montana. She dedicated the award to all her loyal fans. At the Disney's D23 fan event, the company unveiled a handful of surprises. The trailer of upcoming films like Mufasa, The Lion King, Snow White and Moana 2 were released. The fan event took place in California. And Squid Game's actor Lee Jung-jae has been sued by a drama company over fraud accusations. The company has accused Lee of making false and misleading claims. He allegedly convinced the company to transfer shares to him and later plotted to remove the management's top officials. And Selena Gomez has left fans wondering if she is engaged to her beau Benny Blanco. She posted a picture of her with Blanco on social media, concealing her ring finger with a heart emoji. Now, the love-struck couple have been dating for quite some time now. And rapper Cardi B is going to become a mother for the third time. She took to social media to share the happy news with her fans, with images of her baby bump. This came just a day after she filed a divorce from Offset. And South Korean-American pop star Jay Park held a fan meeting after more than a decade. The solo fan meeting was called Jay Park Session 3, dedicated to you. And the meeting took place in Seoul with hundreds of fans waiting to get a glimpse of him. Apart from answering the questions of fans, he also surprised them with a performance with his biggest hits. And American rapper Travis Scott was released from police custody after arrest over a Paris hotel altercation. Officials said the proceedings have been terminated as the incident was minor. He was arrested last week after he got into a fight with a security guard. Indian actor Rani Mukherjee and director Karan Johar will deliver a keynote address at the Australian Parliament House. The duo will speak about cinema's power to bridge cultures and unite audiences on the 13th of August. This comes after India and Australia signed a treaty over filming incentives. The event will be held just days before the 15th annual Indian Film Festival of Melbourne, which will begin on the 15th of August. And that's all in this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.